Are essential oils safe for babies and for children? Quick answer, I'm not going to give you a quick answer. Let me give you the long answer. When they're used with caution, yes, they're safe for babies and children. There's a lot to know about essential oils. There's a lot of information that you need to know before you start using them in general, but especially when you're using them on children and babies, because, well, we'll talk about why in a second here. You want to know which oils should not be used, okay? Now, that's going to leave you a lot of oils that should be used, so we don't need to really go through the list of what oils should be used. You want to know what oils you should not use. That's the starting point. And then proper dilution and application, which is really, really important. It's not just what oils you're using, but how are you using those oils. So let's first talk about the dilution. And what we mean by dilution is essential oils, when you're just using essential oils without putting them into anything else, it's what's called using them neat, directly out of the bottle. That's using them neat. And with babies and children, you don't want to use them neat. Now, in general, you don't want to use them neat because essential oils are highly concentrated. You do not need to use essential oils undiluted. And so for babies and children, you especially do not use them. I was going to say you don't need to, but you do not use them without diluting them in something, okay? They're small bodies, so you're using small amounts, okay? So small body, small amounts of oils. What does that mean? Well, it means you're going to dilute them, and you're going to dilute them at more extreme or at a lower percentage than you would for an adult. So the reason for that, they're small, that's one thing, but babies and children are not fully developed. We have to understand that we know this, but do you think about that when you're using your essential oils on a child, that they're not fully developed? The respiratory system is not fully developed. The digestive system is not fully developed. They lack enzymes, and the enzymes help process the essential oils that get into the body, on the skin. And then they're also lacking the skin lipids that form the protective barrier that allows things in and out of the skin. So lack of enzymes, lack of skin lipids, undeveloped respiratory system, undeveloped digestive system, and so on. This is why you want to dilute the essential oils. So here's a dilution list that I have here, just as a kind of a overview. Infant to 3 months, 0.1 to 0.2%. Okay, that's less than 1%. 0.1, 0.2%. What that means is 1 drop in the 30 milliliter bottle is going to give you about 0.1%. Okay, so this gives you an idea of how little oil. Well, actually, I wrote 0.01% there. That should be 0.1% that goes there. So it's 0.1% is 1 drop in a 30 ml bottle. That doesn't sound like a lot of essential oil, but it's plenty for a small body. Now, for 3 months to 24 months, you can up that dosage a little bit. You're still under 1%. You have about 0.25 to 0.5%. 0.25 is about 2 drops in a 30 milliliter bottle. 6 to 15-year-old, 1.5 to 3%. As you're starting to get into more of the range that's commonly used. The range I always suggest is about 2 or 2.5% for anybody in dilution. So 6 to 15 years old, 1.5. You're probably wondering, what did you do from 24 months to 6 years? Well, what I did with that 24 months is that you're still in that range of 0.1 to 1%. Is where you are there. 15 years to adult, 1.5 to 5%. So those are the dilution ranges, and I'll give you some ideas on how that works in actual application. So that is if you're doing it topically. Okay, so what I just did was I gave you a topical range when you're putting the oil into some form of carrier, a cream, or simple vegetable oil like sunflower or olive oil. That's when you're doing the dilution. You can diffuse the oils, meaning you have a diffuser, or in some other way you're putting the essential oils into the atmosphere. And diffuser is always best, and there are some really good diffusers on the market now that are giving you a timing on it. And one of the best timings is a 10-minute on, 20-minute off diffuser. What that will do is it will diffuse the oils into the atmosphere. So in that first 10 minutes, it's kind of spreading throughout the room, depending on the size of the room. And once it's sort of saturated the environment, it can be turned off. And so it stays off for 20 minutes. It gives that essential oil, in a way, dilution or diffusing at a low level. 10-minute on, 20-minute off. You also want to avoid direct inhalation with a child. And this is really up to, I'm going to say up to 3 years, but you could even go up to 6 years where you're avoiding direct inhalation. What that means is don't put it on tissue and put it up to their nose. Don't put it into a spray or into one of the inhaling sticks where you're putting into their nose. Avoid that. And I'm going to give you some oils where you absolutely want to avoid that. So dilution for diffusing is at a low level. One of the ways I like to describe what does low level mean is at the level of detection. So if you're sitting in the room, you should barely detect the fragrance in the atmosphere. When you walk out of the room and walk back in the room, then you should have that full-on, I can smell eucalyptus or bay laurel or whatever you put into the atmosphere or into your diffuser. But when you're in the room, that should kind of shut off within a few minutes, and you shouldn't really be paying attention or even be smelling the oil. That's what a low detection or at the level of detection is. So internal. Let's talk about internal use. So many people talk about, can you use your oils internally as a phrase that's become a marketing term about quality of oils. And really, it's not about quality. It's about should you be doing essential oils internally at all. And it's not necessary to do essential oils internally. So I don't want to make this about safety. I don't want to make this about, is it right or wrong to do. It's not necessary. The essential oils are more effective through diffusion, through inhalation, than they are at internal use. The only time you really need to use essential oils internally, if you're dealing with something that's more medical, where you'd be using an antibiotic or some other form of medication. That's when we're talking about internal use. Now, if you ever have to do that with a child, and you should not do that without either professional help, doctor, naturopath, whoever your professional is that you go to, you do not want to give children essential oils internally without some sort of assistance. Now, if you have the ability, meaning that you've had the education over a few period of years to do this, then, that might seem suitable. But for internal, absolutely don't use them on infants. From birth to 2 years, it's really not recommended, or under 20 kilograms. Now, I get this information from Robert Tisserand, so I wanted to give you a resource on, instead of just me telling you or somebody from a marketing company telling you whether you should do them internally or not. We want to use science. We want to use some good information that's, I don't mean study science. I mean based on some continued use, what people have seen over years and years of use or in a clinical study. So birth to 2 years, not necessary, and just shouldn't do it. So when you start using essential oils internally for children, it's children who are weighing over 20 kilograms, 30 kilograms is a good way to measure, and I'm going with Robert Tisserand again, who's, my reference is coming from his second edition safety book, Essential Oil Safety Book. And it's a well-researched book, which is why I do recommend it, and I also utilize it to give some good solid information. So 30 kilograms, 0.1 to 0.4 mils. Of essential oil. Now that could be 3 to 12 drops, which is a lot of essential oil when you're getting up into 12 drops. That is divided into 3 daily doses. So 1 to 4 drops. If you're into the 12 drop range, I really don't recommend that much essential oil. Even for adult, it's 2 to 3 drops 3 times a day. And that's plenty of essential oil to do your therapeutic work. So with a child, again, under direction, and it's 1 to 4 drops 3 times a day. If you're trying to do this, try 1 drop at first before you do anything else. And actually, again, a professional will tell you on whether you should be doing 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drops, 4 drops, whatever you're after there. Let's look at a few cautions here. These are very, very important, especially with peppermint oil. So menthol and cineole are the two compounds, very, very, very common in essential oils. And peppermint is an oil that contains both of those compounds, but peppermint is really contraindicated due to its menthol content. So contraindicated for children under 30 months old. Now, why is that number 30 months? Let's look at that. What I said earlier is that the respiratory system is not fully developed. And that's where using peppermint oil on a child 30 months or younger is really risky, because where the respiratory system is not fully developed, that menthol creates a chilling feeling, and that cool feeling that comes from the menthol is actually a reaction within the cold receptors, the cold nerve receptors. And what that does is it creates a response that's very similar to going out into some very, very cold weather. If you notice, your lungs tend to contract and kind of shut down a little bit when you go out into the cold. That's what the peppermint is doing. And with an underdeveloped respiratory system, as in the 30-month or younger child, it can actually compromise the respiratory system to a point where the lungs can shut down. There have been fatalities using menthol, not peppermint. Peppermint has sent children to the ER, but I don't believe there are any fatalities due to peppermint. But there are fatalities due to menthol, and that would be Vicks VapoRub, and also that Olgas, I think that's how you say it, Olgas. It's a Swiss formula, essential oil formula that's really designed for colds and flus and respiratory issues. And they have an inhaler. And then you can see my little picture there. It was like, no. The inhaler for children, it's instillation is what it's called. And when you put that in a child's nose, especially under 30 months or younger, the respiratory system can shut down. There have been fatalities due to that. A lot of ER visits with the Olgas and or Olbas, I'm sorry, O-L-B-A-S, and with Vicks VapoRub. Peppermint can do the same thing. It is capable of shutting down the lungs. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there going, oh, I've been using peppermint, on my children for, forever, and no problem. Yes, that's true. I also use peppermint on my children, but I was very careful not to do it very close to the nose. And when I could, I chose other oils other than peppermint essential oil. So I would say absolutely avoid peppermint. Children under 30 months, also recommended by Robert Tisser in Safety Edition. I actually put the page numbers on the slide here, page 108 to 109. Actually will show you what studies are documenting that these fatalities and respiratory issues that I've talked about. So 1,8-cineole also is a compound you want to be careful of, especially with instillation or anywhere near the face of an infant. Now, if you're diffusing eucalyptus or tea tree, oils that do have high amounts of cineole content, you're probably okay, especially if you do it at the lower levels of detection. Excuse me here. The lower levels of detection. You're going to be fine using eucalyptus, tea tree, 1,8-cineole type oils. Bay laurel also has a fair amount of 1,8-cineole in it. So not near the face, and just diffuse at very, 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 very low detection levels. Also, careful with topical application of peppermint. Back to the menthol issue, because menthol also lowers body temperature. And peppermint has been recommended for fevers. Now, a fever in an infant, I mean, mostly it should be left alone. But if you're really feeling like you need to lower the fever, don't use peppermint. Use German chamomile, which is a good oil for cooling the body a little bit without being so aggressive. But peppermint can lower the body temperature so quickly that the body or the baby can go into shock. So those are the cautions that you want to be careful of. Really just don't use the oils if you're feeling at all like you're not comfortable with these contraindications. There's many, many other oils that do the same things as peppermint, eucalyptus, tea tree, and even bay laurel. Trying to get my guy to work here. Find the right button. All right, so here's a few remedies that I'd like to share with you. working with infants, babies. Rash, skin irritation, yes, that comes up a lot. And, you know, just as kind of an awareness, you want to see these kind of issues, and you want to make sure that detergents and any kind of well, really anything that's in the environment, that what may be causing the rash you want to eliminate before you start using the essential oil. Actually, with the essential oil, you are taking care of symptoms, but the symptoms are only going to be taken care of as much as the cause can be taken care of, okay? If the cause isn't taken care of, the oils will be much less effective. So we're, again, doing following the topical dose guidelines when you're doing this. And so you're putting this into some form of a base. It could be a shea butter, which I highly recommend all by itself, or I have a carrier blend down at the bottom here, which is sunflower jojoba, shea butter, and rosehip seed oil. All of those also have some really good conditioning therapeutic properties for the body, or for the skin rather. So any wood oil, I'm going to give you a formula that contains, you know, sort of the wood oil and the resins at about 25% each. And those wood oils can be the cedarwood, arbor vitae, which is the red western cedar, for those people who don't know that other common name. Sandalwood would be a good choice, Australian sandalwood, which is Santalum spicatum, or the common Indian type sandalwood, which is the Santalum album, which is a really good sustainable supply is coming out of Australia now, which from India it's always been questionable because it's been illegal to export the sandalwood from India. So when you're getting sandalwood oil, you want to try and make sure that you're getting a real sandalwood oil. So I highly recommend the one coming out of Australia. It's still the Indian type, which is Santalum album. So resin oil, copaiba, is a very, very good oil. It's got good anti-inflammatory compounds going on in there. Frankincense is always highly recommended. And then myrrh. I could have also included patchouli and galbanum, or cistus, which is labdanum. So there's a handful of resin oils that would be very good in this. All of them are good anti-inflammatory. Plus, the resins tend to be a little more dense, and so form a coating on the skin that's more protective. Lavender is always awesome. And then helichrysum is a really very good oil for topical use for rashes and any kind of skin irritation. Very good anti-inflammatory, but it also has some good regenerative properties to help the skin heal properly. And then the German chamomile, which is a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. So that's a good blend there. I've given it to you in percentages, and what you'd probably like to see is, well, what does that mean to me when I'm just sitting there working at this in my kitchen cabinet or kitchen counter? So here's a way to do that. What I would do is I recommend pre-blending your oil at a 5 ml bottle. So this recipe here makes about a 5 ml bottle. Really depends on your dropper size and you know how you're doing your drops. And then what that does, it allows you to do a dilution. So if you have your little 5 ml bottle and it's pure essential oil, when we get down to how many drops in the dilution for the age, if we're talking 1 drop in a 30 ml bottle, how do you do, what do I have here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oils. How do you do 5 oils in 1 drop? The only way to do it is by pre-blending. Put that 1 drop into a 30 ml bottle, you're on and you've got it. So for this 5 ml blend, I have 25 drops of cedarwood. I went ahead and picked a wood oil. I love the cedarwood, especially the Atlas cedarwood. 25 drops of copaiba, 30 drops of lavender, 10 drops of helichrysum, and then 10 drops of German chamomile. That gives the dilution. What we have here is 100 drops, so it's easy when you have 100 drops. You're taking that 25%, taking the percentage symbol off, and you've got how many drops you're going to use. So that's going to be, you know, again, it makes for just a really simple 5 ml bottle. It's a great formulation way to, easy formulations to figure out. So with that 30 ml carrier, what I've done is I've given you milliliter amounts for the sunflower, jojoba, shea butter, and rosehip seed oil. Okay, let's look at some digestive issues. Digestive issues, you would think, well, shouldn't you use it internally? No, you shouldn't use it internally for digestive system. Inhalation is much more effective when you're dealing with the digestive system than doing it internally. So for topical formulation, and when you do it topically, you're actually inhaling it. So it's really a great remedy when you're doing the massage, and you can you know, work around the digestive system. And if it's colicky baby or any kind of issue with digesting proteins and whatever else is in the formula. Massaging the digestive system works really well, and with the essential oils, you're getting the inhalation from it as well as anything that will absorb through the skin, which for a baby, they will absorb much more effectively than for an adult because, again, the lipid barrier is not completed on the baby skin. So topical or inhalation, what I'm doing is when I say topical or inhalation, I'm going to give you the 5 ml bottle again, because if you're going to make your formula and make a choice as to whether you're going to use it in inhalation or whether you're going to do it topically, if you have that 5 ml bottle of pure essential oil, you can either put drops into a diffuser or you can put it into a 30 ml formula. So you're all set once you've built that. So here I have lavender, which is just a great oil in general for children. Geranium also would be a fine oil here. But what I'm doing is I'm choosing oils that have a nice effect on the central nervous system, which does help with digestive issues. Also autonomic function, which is directly related to the digestive system. And so calming, soothing for the baby in general, as well as helping support digestive function. Lavender, lemon, grapefruit, Roman chamomile, ginger. So all the therapeutic properties that I just mentioned, all of those oils will deliver in a different fashion. So, come to one of my foundations classes if you really want to understand how and why all these oils work, because there's so many oils to choose from that you can see the replacements the more you know about essential oils. So here's that 5 ml bottle recipe again, 25 drops or 35 drops with lavender, 20 of lemon and grapefruit, 15 drops of Roman chamomile, 10 drops of ginger. I'm going gentle on the ginger, even though it is directly related to digestive issues. So if you're doing this into a 15 ml bottle, now I'm giving you a 0.25 dilution by saying 2 drops. And once the baby's after 3 months, that would be a reasonable dose to do in there. But that 1 drop is actually 0.25 because I'm not doing it in a 30 ml bottle here. I'm doing it into a 15 ml bottle, so half of that. So 1 drop is a 0.25% dilution. So we are going a little bit heavier on that for the digestive issues here. Fever. I already mentioned fever. Don't use peppermint. It lowers the body temperature too aggressively. And, we're not so much interested in lowering the body temperature here because a baby with a fever, it's actually part of the immune function. It's what should be going on. Again, with a fever, a professional should be telling you whether you should be worried or not. And so for you, taking care of a baby and their fever, it's to make the baby and the child feel more comfortable, okay? So a bit of massage is going to help because that whole touch has a good healing potential there. So there's therapeutic properties to the touching and just taking care of the baby. So that's an important part of using the oils topically. Talk about intention a lot when using essential oils because it's a very, very important part of using essential oils. And the application has a lot to do with how that intention is being applied. Excuse me again. So frankincense, black pepper, and German chamomile, all of these oils are good anti-inflammatory and also have a cooling effect to hot conditions. So frankincense, black pepper, German chamomile, helichrysum, vetiver, actually all of those are powerful anti-inflammatory oils. And so this formula here is really designed to be anti-inflammatory to bring the temperature down, but it won't really work within the body against the body. So if the body's immune system is putting that temperature at that whatever the number is for that fever, it's not going to lower it in a way that's drug-like or peppermint-like. It's going to work more in harmony with the body. So it really is going to have a nice effect on the inflammatory result of the fever and of the immune system, which will help the baby feel more comfortable. So some of the pain that comes with a fever, even headache, it will help alleviate all the symptoms of having a high fever more than trying to lower the body temperature. So I've given you a topical and a diffuser formula here. So the lemon, frankincense, cedarwood, and lavender in a diffuser. It's going to make a nice diffuser formula, fragrance-wise, and also just for working in the atmosphere. But either one of these will you could kind of interchange them. So if you want to use a diffuser topically, same formulation. If you want to use the topical diffuser, same formulation. It works either way. I've just kind of given recommendations on what I think works well. Fragrance, from a fragrance perspective as well as therapeutically. So topical, we're looking at approximately 0.75% in a 30 milliliter carrier. So I'm in a higher percentage here. I would recommend dropping that in half, but it gets kind of tricky when you're doing the German chamomile, helichrysum, and vetiver. How do you do a half a drop? So you can do this into a 5 ml formula. You would take that recipe that I gave you with the percentages. The 5 ml formula is taking the percentage symbol off, turning that into drops. That's a 5 ml bottle. Put 1 or 2 drops into a 30 milliliter carrier if you want to lower the amount of oil that you're using. But this just allows you to use the formula as is, and 0.75% in a 30 ml carrier. I would say at least a year old. For this formula. And so you have frankincense, black pepper at the 2 drops, 1 drop German chamomile, and helichrysum vetiver, also 1 drop. In the diffuser, here's the 5 ml bottle, and then you would drop how many drops depending on the manufacturer's instructions. So that's how that would work there. That's going to be my topic for my conversation on how to use them for babies and children. I know there's a lot of questions that go along with this, and you can ask some questions now if you'd like. You can also email me. I'll give you an email address, but support@jimmharrison.com. You can always email me with any of your questions. I highly recommend coming to the classes we have here at Bastyr University. I'll give you those dates in a second. But I do want to announce that the new book that I've written is out and available. This is for people who are really interested in how to use essential oils based on the chemistry, okay? So what the book does is it talks from the way that I teach on how to use essential oils in the class without too much of the chemistry information. So what this book is an easy translation from looking online and looking at the people who are all about what chemistry is in my book, what essential oil compounds, and they'll give you a list of all the compounds. You look at that list, you go, well, there's linalool, and there's terpineol, and there's 1,8-cineole, but what does that information mean to you? Nothing. This book will help you to take that information, put it into a chart, and when you see that those compounds on the chart, you go, oh, the cineole, that's good for respiratory conditions and as an expectorant, cleaning the lungs. Oh, the terpineol, that's good for overall health, supporting the immune system. So you'll see how to take essential oil compounds, the words that are written on most websites now, and how to translate that into usable information so that you can actually use essential oil chemistry therapeutically with the essential oils that you have. And then the other cool thing is a list of oils that I just gave you for all those formulas. If you don't have some of those oils, you'll be able to transfer that using the information, transfer the oils that I've listed to oils that you do have, getting the same composition, the same compounds. So that's going to be it. I want to get to some questions here, but here's my website. Give you more information about me and everything else that we're doing, and also support at jimmharrison.com. That's email if you have any questions. We still have room for the foundations class coming up here at Bastyr University at the Kenmore, Washington campus. It starts tomorrow, which is the 19th of January, goes to the 21st. It's a 3-day class. Next foundations class, which is going to be coming up on April 20th, 21 and 22. So those are all coming up here at Bastyr University. How cool is that? And Susan, do we have any questions?
Aloha. Aloha, everybody.
Hey.
Ray, hello. Ray had a question. She wanted to know if it's safe to use essential oils during pregnancy, i.e. soaking in the bath with essential oils or inhalation.
Sounds like another webinar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is absolutely safe to use essential oils. You know what to do is think about using them the way you would in children. Okay, on the first slide that I had, I actually showed a pregnant woman smelling pine. Okay, and so what I was demonstrating there is that a baby starts while it's forming, and so you have to be really hyper aware of what you're doing with everything, not just essential oils. So some of the oils that are contraindicated during pregnancy are cinnamon, fennel, aniseed, tarragon. Those are the main ones. You want to be careful with any of the lemon-smelling oils. But if they're diluted and you're not doing them internally, there's really, really minimal risk to using essential oils. But fennel, aniseed, and tarragon, and cinnamon, those are the ones to avoid. Any oil. Now, this is what's cool about the olfactory system, is your olfactory system has a heightened sense of awareness, okay? Anything that smells negative to you, do not use. Your olfactory system is telling that for you individually, that's something you want to avoid. So if it doesn't smell good, don't use it.
That's good to go by. Smell it, don't tell it. So
there you go.
We also wanted to know if it's safe to bathe the baby in essential oils. I think that was the question. Is that right, Ray?
The answer to that would be yes. What you want to do is dilute in similar way. It's harder to how much bath water is there to how much essential oil. What you want to do is put it into an unscented soap. The soap I'd recommend for diluting would be the Castile soap. Bronner's is okay. I really don't recommend Bronner's on the skin, even though it's a natural soap. It's a very high alkaline. But diluted in the bath, it's great as an emulsifier, so it helps to put the oils through the body, or not through the body, but through the water and sitting inside the water instead of undiluted. Don't use them undiluted because the oils can penetrate much more aggressively when you're with just the fats on the body and the water. They want to get out of the water and into your body, so they're much more aggressively attacking the body in a way. So dilute it, and what would be the recommendation in a little baby bath? I don't even know what that would, 5 gallons, I don't even know how much that would be. I'd say maybe 3 drops of essential oil would be more than necessary. Start with 1 because, a little bit of oil goes a long way. And so dilution, anytime you're using it with a baby, but do not use anything that may be aggressive. No hot oils, oregano, thyme, which you don't want to use on a baby anyway, cinnamon, even clove, and the lemon oils, lemongrass, lemon eucalyptus, lemon myrtle. Anything that has a lemon fragrance, except for lemon, but even the citruses you got to be careful with in the bath. So I think those are all the main contradicted in the bath oils. Lavender, rose, neroli, those are great. Geranium, those are fine.
Okay, Jennifer Bigmaster. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us. Her question is, will the diffuser formulas you suggested help with congestion? That's a common concern of new parents.
Congestion depends on whether you're talking digestive congestion or if you're talking respiratory congestion. The answer is yes either way. The one for digestion, definitely. If you want something for respiratory, nope, none of those are the best. They would help. But you might want to add just a little bit of tea tree or a little bit of eucalyptus. So at the beginning, I was talking the first one of the first slides because I got right into contraindications. Cineole is the compound that's best for respiratory congestion. Cineole is one you have to be very careful. So at the very, very lowest of detection levels. So with those formulas, you might drop a drop of, well, any of the oils, one of the anti-inflammatory ones, and replace 1 or 2 of eucalyptus and you'd be fine. Okay. That would work.
And a question from Jillian. Hi, Jillian. Thank you for joining us. Jillian wants to know, are there cautions about using essential oils while breastfeeding? Are there compounds shared in the breast milk with baby after inhalation from mom?
Yes, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever documented how much, but it's very similar to anything you put in the body is going to end up in the breast milk. And so I think that with all the oils that I've mentioned, that, for inhalation, and even if you're using them topically, like if the breasts get irritated, there's some really, really good formulas, for the nipples and to help all the chapping, and rose oil is one of the best. And so there you may have, you kind of don't want to do it before the baby's going to be breastfeeding, but you may have residue of the oil on your skin. And with rose and other oils like lavender or geranium, there really isn't, I haven't seen any contraindications for that. But again, if you're going to be putting them directly on the nipples, and do it right after breastfeeding, and so that you absorb or it's eliminated before the baby's next feeding. If in your body, in the breast milk, I think that if you're careful, again, with the oils that I just mentioned for pregnancy, avoid those. Cinnamon, even oregano and thyme, and fennel, aniseed, clove, did I say clove? Tarragon. Those, if you're smelling peppermint in the atmosphere, I wouldn't worry about it in the breast milk. So the contraindications are much different, because once they're in the body, these compounds are broken down by the liver. So a lot of these compounds aren't even in the body as they occur in the essential oil. There's so much research that needs to be done on what's actually in your body if once the oils go through the liver. But if you're being sensible about the oils that you're using, there's really I wouldn't have too much concern.
Okay. And one more question from Abby Pattison. Hi, Abby. Abby says that you mentioned that you don't want to ingest essential oils unless there's a medical reason. Abby says that she's currently taking On Guard to help her immune system in the winter. And the On Guard has wild orange peel, clove bud, cinnamon leaf, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, and rosemary leaf flower essential oils.
Yeah, so my answer to that is, do I think it's necessary? I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's going to work that you're doing the On Guard internally. I just don't think it's necessary. I think that it's going to be more effective if you inhale the oils, if you put the formula into a diffuser and keep that running, pretty much all day long. If you're in that at low detection, it's going to protect you better than if you were taking the oils internally. Because you have to remember, what I just said was when you do them internally, they're going through the digestive system, so the enzymes are changing the structure. Then they're going through the liver, and they're broken down and changed into water-soluble compounds. Then they're going through the blood. So the essential oils that you're taking internally are not what ends up in the blood. Are they effective internally? Yes, they are. Are they most effective? I think that there's question as to whether they're more effective internally or inhalation. Through my 25 plus years of using essential oils, I would vote that they're more effective for supporting immune system inhalation than they are internally.
Okay, that's a good. Thank you. I think that answers Tara's question too about immunotherapy. Jim just said it's best used to a diffuser. So, and one last question from Tara. Hi, Tara. Tara wants to know that she says essential oils come up with kids a lot with lice treatment and prevention. What do you think about that?
For lice, they do come up a lot. And I don't have a real good answer for that. I mean, I know that tea tree has been pretty effective, and lice is just one of those things that's very, 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 very difficult. And I'm sure someone has been successful with it, and they probably reported it somewhere. When my children were young, I dealt with it a couple of times, and one time it was successful, one time it was not as successful. But I would always go to essential oils first before going to any of the really hardcore, nasty stuff that it usually takes. But tea tree and, oh man, the oils that work the best are the most irritating, and that's really unfortunate because they need to go on the scalp. But, cinnamon, clove, and thyme and oregano, those are great, but I would not put those on children's scalp. Tea tree, yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody. I think that's all the questions we have for now. Thank you so much for attending, and I just wanted to reiterate that Jimm's Essential Oils class starts on Friday at 4 p.m. There's still time to join us, although that the online registration may be closed. If you wanted to call and register, we'll be very happy to take a registration over the phone at 425-602-3349. And if you are going to take the class, we'll be happy to offer you the early rate. We'll keep that open for you for our friends and our loyal patrons to do that today. Anybody that's listening to this, I'll make that offer good for anybody that's listening to this webinar right now. So be sure to give us a call before 6 o'clock tonight, so we can get you enrolled. Anyway, thanks so very much. Thank you, Jim. Great as always.
You, Susan.
And everybody, please remember that this is being recorded. So if you didn't have time to take notes, if it went too fast, if you want the formula, we will be sending everybody that's registered a copy of the PDF format as well as the recording. And that's all I have to say.
Cool.
Thank you, Jim.